Hello friends, welcome to Sri Ram's. The topic for today's discussion is pandemic and the legal framework. There are essentially two laws to deal with COVID-19, the pandemic that struck in 2019-20. First, Disaster Management Act 2005 and second, Epidemic Diseases Act 1897. The lockdown imposed across the country in March 2020 was based on the powers under the Disaster Management Act 2005. In the 7th schedule, as we see in the chapter on federal system, there is no mention of the subject disaster. Instead, two entries in the concurrent list have been used for the legislation. Entry 23, Social Security and Social Insurance, and Entry 29, Prevention of the extension from one state to another of infectious or contagious disease or pests affecting men, animal, or plants. Disaster Management Act 2005 has 11 chapters and 79 sections. The Act extends to the whole of India. The Act provides for the effective management of disasters. The Act calls for the establishment of a National Disaster Management Authority with Prime Minister of India as the chairperson. The NDMA is responsible for laying down the policies, plans, and guidelines for disaster management and to ensure timely and effective response to disaster. Under the Section 6 of the Act, it is responsible for laying down guidelines to be followed by the state authorities in drawing up the state plans. The National Disaster Management Authority is the nodal central body for coordinating disaster management. Central government under the DM Act can issue any directions to any authority anywhere in India to facilitate or assist in disaster management, for which the Prime Minister can exercise all powers of NDMA. To alleviate social misery, NDMA and SDMA are mandated to provide minimum standard of relief to disaster-affected persons, including relief in repayment of loans or grant of fresh loans on concessional terms. The DM Act has been criticized for not allowing any role to the non-governmental organizations, elected local representatives, local communities, and civic groups. Besides, for adopting a hierarchical, bureaucratic, command and control, top-down approach that it gives central, state, and district authorities sweeping powers. Epidemic Diseases Act 1897 is a colonial-era law that is used for containing the spread of various diseases including cholera and malaria. It comprises of 4 sections. The law is meant for containment of epidemics by providing special powers to the government. It was enacted to tackle bubonic plague in Mumbai. The government invoked the law to deal with swine flu, cholera, malaria, and dengue. From March 2020, the Act is being enforced across India in order to limit the spread of coronavirus disease. It gives powers to states primarily, but also to the centre. In 2020, President of India promulgated an ordinance, the Epidemic Diseases Ordinance 2020, to amend the Act, adding provisions to punish those attacking doctors or health workers. The limitations of the law are that it fails to define dangerous diseases and also what an epidemic means. The Act lays down only the powers of the government during pandemic, but not the government's duties in preventing and controlling the epidemic. Nor does it state the rights of the citizens during the disease outbreak. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast.